On Friday evening, tornadoes tore through Mississippi and Alabama, toppling buildings, downing power lines, killing 26. The storms left a swath of destruction in their wake. On Wednesday afternoon, a car traveling on 695 collided with another vehicle, lost control, flipped over the median, creating another path of destruction, killing 6 construction workers. As of today, news outlets report 42,000 people have died amid the war in Ukraine. 140,000 buildings have been destroyed, and 14 million people have been displaced. This swath of destruction covers a nation and spreads out to the neighboring ones. The hand of the Lord came upon me. God led me, set me down in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. Picture each of these scenes just described in your mind's eye, for here are valleys of dry bones. Here are the casualties of war, the dead not always even given a proper burial. Here are the graveyards of abandoned dreams. Before death came, people dwelt here. They worked here and loved here. They ate and they danced and they laughed. They tended gardens, pushed babies on swings, checked in on neighbors, watched the sunset as they washed the dishes at the sink. When people die, dreams also die. Relationships inevitably change. Hearts break and the future is rearranged. The valley of dry bones holds also our buried hopes for a better tomorrow. Here, says Ezekiel, is a valley of very dry bones. Bones that have existed in the elements for decades, bleached by the sun, broken into pieces by the jackals who come to gnaw upon them. The valley is so parched the dust gets in one's lungs. No one dares to visit. What enemies might lurk on the edges? What dangerous memories might taunt the one who comes? What terrifying questions could surface? Do you, Lord, hear my cry? In the 6th century BCE, the Babylonian Empire successfully conquered the tiny nation of Judah. Ezekiel was numbered among the first wave of deportees sent to live in exile in Babylon. Surely he saw the battlefields. He knew the families whose trees now had death dates next to names. He felt the despair. Life under God's protective promise appeared destroyed. Like Ezekiel, I bet that you know the feeling. Life appears to be headed one way until disaster strikes, and all you can do is watch obsessively the wreckage along the path. Or life is good, deep with meaning, filled with steady love, until death robs you of the one who made your heart sing. or made it settle down, peacefully secure. And the morning after you open your eyes, stare at the ceiling and wonder how you will go on. Sometimes the loss is so world-shattering, your sense of God also unravels. What kind of faithful God lets this happen? How can I live trusting in a good, ordered creation, having walked through the valley of the very dry bones? During his decades of exile in Babylon, Ezekiel does not forget the destruction of his people, nor the despair at its wake. What he does do is channel his energy into comprehending it, to find answers that are livable, that he can live with, to questions about a now disordered world. His vocation then becomes prophetic, to speak about God's presence amid the absence, to cast about for meaning amid the chaos. And now, near the end of his prophecy, he gets a vision of the valley of lost people, lost dreams, a dead future. He's able to go back to the original site of the destruction, this time guided by God toward the memory, invited to peer into it with a question about life. The valley is full of bones. The bones are very dry. And yet God asks the question, can these bones live? Ezekiel wants to shout, no, of course they cannot live. You were here when my people were cut down. You saw the tears, the blood, and the birds circling overhead. How dare you, God, ask such a ridiculous question? Can these bones live? The passion behind Ezekiel's response is not simply grief. It is the longing to be able to say yes. The valley is a place to lament, and lament, I submit to you, is distinct from simple grief. Grief is sadness looking at a dead-end situation and feeling all the tears. Lament, as the dictionary defines it, is grief plus passion. Grief plus passion. A passion born of what ought to be. Lament says the situation is not right. Lament insists stubbornly that all can be put right, presenting that sorrow to God. Can these bones live? God, you know. You are the sole power to make something new happen in this valley. And so the lament that is a prayer casts the anger, pain, and sorrow upon our relational God, our covenant-keeping God, who has brought Ezekiel back to this valley to turn a bitter memory into the site of new life. Prophet speaks, God, tell the bones I will breathe upon them. Tell the bones I will remember them. Knit them back together. Tell the bones they will live again. Resurrection, writes Margaret Odell, is life formed from death. life formed from death. Here, deep into the Lenten season, we are confronted by a long list of deaths all around us. And we're asked to look at them, to see their pain, to ask what complicity we have in the deadliness of our world, and then to hear God's steady promise. I will breathe my breath upon you. The winds that created the world will blow again. The broken pieces will get new joints to move. And out of the dust comes life. Here in the midst of human failure is divine possibility. The most curious aspect of Ezekiel's vision comes in his role, his part in returning the bones to life. It is God who speaks the promise. It is God's power that will make the bones alive. But nothing can happen, or nothing does happen in this passage until Ezekiel opens his mouth. He has to believe something that has not yet happened. Like Mary's yes to the angel Gabriel, or Mary Magdalene's I have seen the Lord from Easter morning, God's power for life is unleashed through the courage of the voices of faithful servants, and that means you. Faithful ones who dare to revisit the graveyards of our dreams, who dare to bring our laments before an always hearing God, who courageously speak God's power for life. As we turn our eyes towards Easter, as we look to that journey towards the cross and then into resurrection, our job mirrors Ezekiel's. We lament, we listen, we speak. May it be so. Amen.